Wish that I could fly away. Standing in the sand, catching teardrops in my
Hello, everyone.
hand.
Welcome to Black Economics TV. We have with us today Patricia Johnson. She's based in London. She has been in the education field for many years. She's going to tell us about her experience. So, welcome, Patricia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks for agreeing to do this. So, tell me, what do you do and how long have you done this for?
Okay, so I am a qualified lecturer. Presently, I am head of education and I'm responsible for the teacher training department at a college. That's what I do
Okay.
presently.
Okay. And how long have you been in education?
Over 20 years.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Do you enjoy it?
Love it.
Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely love it.
Oh, brilliant. So, what are the highlights of your achievement in your work?
Seeing teachers, trainee teachers, start with very little, very low confidence, feeling that they will not make it, and actually seeing them achieve their teaching qualification with a very good grade, and then watching them excel in their career in terms of um, they are now heads of departments, they are now assistant principals, some are running their own training centers. And that's just beautiful to see because where they started, because I feel like they're mine and I can see the
Mhm.
potential in them. So where they've started and where they end up is actually where I see them going and where I hope for them to go. And when they actually achieve that, that's just satisfying for me.
So,
Yeah.
you keep in touch with a number of your students then,
I
your
do.
ex-students?
I do. Yes, I do. And I guess I'm still, I mentor them even with the roles that they play because they will tap into my expertise and ask me things, or if they're just having a really bad year, so they will come to me and share, and I'm able to advise them, tell them whether they should get out or stay in and just keep plowing ahead. But yeah, they do. They stay in touch with me, so I'm like their extension of their training.
Okay. So, in terms of being a real life teacher, what would you say are difficulties that teachers have and that you help to guide your trainees in terms of how to handle these difficulties?
Okay, so obviously working with mature students in further education and higher education, sometimes they come in with this idea of teaching being altogether wonderful. It's going to fit into their work life balance, and they are going to teach what they love and mark what they can and go home. And I try to
Mhm.
burst that bubble from the first few weeks that they're in my training room to let them know this is what really happens. Um, and hopefully, I'm not influencing them negatively, but I do want them to see what teaching is all about. And it's not just what they think it is, which is, empowering and sharing knowledge. But it really is about keeping up with the system. It's about ticking the boxes. It's about making sure that you are doing the things that you should be doing so that you are not told you have to leave. It's about making sure that your work fits into the mode of Ofsted, etc. And so I really do explain to them that it's work after work. That's what they've got to think about. It's working when they are not working in their working environment, where they are preparing, where they are thinking things through, where they're agonizing about things that they don't understand. So I really do share those things with them. I actually say things to them like when you are training to be a teacher, you will either lose weight or gain weight. And oftentimes you're gaining weight, and you're gaining weight not because you're overeating, but because you're not able to eat enough because you're so busy. And because you're so busy, sometimes what the little you've had stays with you. So you find that your weight is increasing. So it's those practical elements that I share with them. I actually tell them about the impact it has on their family, whether they are a single parent or they join the parenting with their children, how it impacts on their family life, their social lives, etc. And then I ask them, do you want to continue? That's not in the
Okay,
curriculum, by the way.
that's not in the curriculum.
No, it's not in the teacher training curriculum, but it's the
Mm.
truth of teaching. And I think sometimes there's just so much more than is realized, and the expectations and the demands on teachers are more than just the 6 or 7 hours that they're in the classroom or in their environment.
Okay, and what do you tell them about management of students, behavioral management, say?
I encourage them to leave their culture behind when they are wanting to manage the behavior of the students. Simply because when I was training, I always thought about my culture and how I would deal with students, but that would probably get me into a lot of trouble. So I've told them they've got to think about and understand what the policies are about managing the behaviors of the students, but they have got to themselves get to know these students, get to know what the triggers are so that they don't inflate those triggers, so that they don't become argumentative with the students, but they just know how to deal with those students so that there's a calmer environment. So it's really understanding how to make the environment inclusive. And if you can make the environment inclusive, then it means that you're catering for all of the students and their needs, etc., etc. And if you have to deal with the behaviour situations, there are other agencies within the establishment that you send them to. You don't try to deal with them yourself. Could get you into a lot of trouble.
And what about relationships with other teachers and also with the management within the educational establishment? Because that's another area which could be a source of contention or a source of stress for teachers.
Yes, and I make them very much aware of that, simply because every department requires something. They need something, and the pressure is it's always filtered across or filtered down, however you might look at it. And I try to explain and to tell the teachers and train them in the fact that you've got to know your remit, your boundaries, what you can do and what you can't do. And you've got to understand the boundaries of others as well, who you work with. And yes, there are some who have this attitude of talking down to other staff members. And I think it's a matter of if you know who you are, you know what you're doing, you understand what you're supposed to do, you get on and do it and you stand firm on what you know rather than being bullied or it's an ego that you're having to fight with, or it's someone who just wants to throw their authority across a staff member or a trainee teacher or a teacher. So I think it's building working relationships. That's really, really important. And I think once that's done and once that's understood between the teacher and the other staff, I think that forges a better working relationship. And then it's beginning to understand what the remits are. But I think you've got to set your own targets and you've got to have your own mindset. You've got to know who you are so that you are not just tossed around here, there, get me this, I need that report, fill that document out, and things are being piled. You've got to get to that stage where you can say, I'm unable to do that, but I can do this. I'll do that, but I'll do it when I can and give them a date, give them a time and stick to it. So I think it's managing yourself and then making sure that others understand who you are and how you work, what you can do, what you can't do.
Okay, interesting. So, within the educational sphere, you've been in it for a while. What do you love about education?
The fact that it's available to everybody, anybody, and it's lifelong learning.
Hmm,
That's what I love about education.
okay. And if you had a chance to improve the educational system, what are the things you don't like that you think, yeah, this could be improved and this is how it could be done?
Wow. I'd love to start again with the whole educational system, to be honest with you. Um, if I can go right into the middle, learners learn differently, students learn differently. And I don't understand why students are forced to sit in a hall or a room to do exams when they struggle at sitting exams. I believe that there should be other options for students to get their qualifications. It shouldn't just be one way or two ways, and that's it. So I think there need to be other ways for students to be able to gain their qualifications without going through that one strict system. And I also think there needs to be, I would make the teaching a lot more flexible, a lot more flexible. The times, I would actually change the times that the students start and the times that the students finish. I would make sure that the teachers are only teaching what they are qualified to teach and not try to cover three and four other subjects that's not known to them. And I would make sure that there is a lot more diversity in the seniorities in terms of the management, the senior positions. There's got to be a better balance of who sits on which board and how it's represented across cultures. I could go on, I could go on, I could go on. Break times, how much break times students need and staff and just the facilities. Creating a better facility for students so that it doesn't feel so institutionalized. And I
Mm,
could some more.
okay. Um, I think with the thing with exams is that it's convenient to have 200 or 300 people tested all at once. So this tends to be why they might all be put in a hall. The other alternative would be, of course, doing coursework, which for some courses, coursework is available and students can work on that during term time. But there is an issue with coursework now in the age of AI because students can just put the scenario to AI and then it prints out coursework for them.
Yes,
Have you come across?
I have. I've had the whole class
Mm,
produce work from AI. And I have had to say what we have done is tackle the issues around AI with the students. One, you've got to let them know, I know that you're using AI. This is in terms of the students. And then give some parameters in terms of how much AI they should be allowed to use and where the cutoff point is. And it's got to be realistic parameters as well. But I do see AI in a very positive way as well, because I think it cuts down on a whole lot of paperwork for the teaching staff as well. But in terms of the students using AI, yes, I think they should be allowed to use AI, but just in limited forms.
mm, mm. So, for instance, what percentage of a piece of coursework would be allowed to have AI? Are we talking about 20%, 50%, 70%?
I'd love to say around about 30%
Hmm.
could
Okay.
be AI. But having a meeting some weeks ago with one of our awarding bodies, um, she was actually saying that 5% was too much.
5%, really?
It was too much, which I said to her, that's unrealistic, because everybody's using, or a lot of people are using AI. Um,
Mm,
and I think there needs to be, in fact, 35% is, that's quite small um,
mm,
in consideration to how much AI says so much. And I think for me, I don't have a problem with students using AI 100% if they are able to rewrite from that, learn from it and write it rather than just take from AI and copy it into their work.
Yeah, yeah,
But if they've
yeah.
got that ability to break it down into their own words, and then it's back to the whole exam thing where they may not be able to sit and write or type, but they may be able to have a conversation around what they have studied. And I think that
Mhm.
could fall into a qualification that helps them
Yeah.
rather than just this one way of testing to see how well they've done and if they're going to pass the course.
Yeah, I mean, that would require quite a bit of organization because a school or college would have to say, okay, let's allocate 10 or 15 minutes per student to take part in an oral exam where they'll actually have to talk about their understanding of the work. But I think that would be great. And I think there are some courses where students might have to give a speech or presentation to
Yeah,
explain their understanding. And I think those are good. It's just that they are time consuming. And I have heard of colleges that rather than accept written work, they want the students to design a poster which has relevant information in, but then you can get AI to also do a poster. So
that's very
it's
true.
a difficult situation, and but AI is not going anywhere.
No, it isn't. And before you know it, AI will be teaching the students, and we will not be visible. We will not be there. It will all be virtual, and I think we've just got to kind of move with that, whether we agree with it or not. It's all right to say, no, I don't want to get involved in AI, but AI, it can be a useful tool if you
Mm,
manage it properly. Um,
mm,
I know of places in Canada where the students don't have teachers
Pictures.
such that they actually have AI teaching
Mm,
them and robots teaching them.
mm, mm. Well, I suppose it begs the question that if, say, in 5 years' time, teachers aren't required, could that be a reality? And would it cause problems, emotional problems? Because part of schooling and education is the social aspect as well, learning how to deal with people, you know?
Absolutely, it would be. It could be chaotic, um, because if a student is having a bad day, AI is not going to sympathize with them at all. It's a matter of you do your work.
Yeah.
You're in the class for how long? I mean, AI could probably try and lock them in the classroom so that the work's being done. You just don't know. But in terms of the emotional side of things, AI isn't there yet.
Hmm. No,
Not
it's not there yet.
no. So there's still scope, there's still room for us to be educators, but I know that they will implement AI and
Hmm.
feed that into the system. But with your point in terms of the um, having other means to test students, I do professional discussions. So they have a whole year to plan and prepare for a professional discussion. And it's sometimes harder than the exam, but they are better at it because they can articulate better than they can writing.
Oh, wow.
In the school life, in the classroom, you're talking more than you're writing.
Yeah.
So it really builds up their own speaking skills
Yes.
and how they actually portion out what they need to do and how they need to do it.
Yeah, well, that's interesting if they're talking more than writing within certain classroom situations. But you will still find there are some students who don't like to talk and say very little. And then when it comes to producing, say, coursework, the coursework is PhD standard because it's AI.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. How do you tell teachers to look at the balance between what you see, what's evidential from students as you speak to them or you listen to them in the classroom, and how do you marry that with someone who's usually very silent and yet they produce fantastic work?
Right. I've had that happen in a few of my classrooms. And there are a few things that I've done and a few things I've recommended to teachers to do as well, should that happen to them, which is look out for the quiet students, because you always have the quiet students in the classroom, but a whole lot's going on in their minds.
Yeah.
They're practicing things rather than just shouting everything out. And I think it's creating ways of getting into those quiet students' heads, their minds, and to get an understanding of where they are, how they are processing things, so that if they do produce something that's a piece of work, coursework, that looks like it's AI top heavy, at least you know that the abilities of that student is whatever it is that you've had the conversations with them, to see that okay, there are some things in here that they do understand. And I think it's just that one-to-one attention,
Mm,
understanding your learner, your student, getting to know them, spending that time with them so that you draw out of them things that they won't say in the classroom. And some of the students have blown my mind when I've spoken to them on a one-to-one, whether they've got a speech impediment, because sometimes it's that. Sometimes they've just been told they're never going to be anything. So they've got that, they bring that into the classroom, don't they? All of the influences that they've had over the years, because we're talking about mature students, they bring all of that into the classroom. But I think it's just the skill of the teacher to not
mm,
try to go in as I am lording myself over you, but I'm here to bring out the best I can from you whilst I pour into you the knowledge that you need.
mm. Well, I think you yourself, as an educator, um, it sounds like you would have a really good rapport with students, and that's what is really needed from a lot of teachers, to have a good relationship with students so that they can be free to express how they feel, free to express their understanding of the topic, and
Yes.
to talk about difficulties they might have. And I think that you bring that forward, you bring that through and encourage people to talk. That's what it sounds like. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. And I pass that on to all of my trainee teachers. And I think that's helped them in their own classroom and in their own work. And it has for me, because I've tried exactly what you said, get to know the students. They should feel comfortable around you because they're spending hours with you in a week. And when they feel that you actually care, because
Mm,
there's one thing to be a teacher because you've got the knowledge and you're going to teach them. There's another thing to be a teacher where you are really passionate, not just about your subject, but about the learning process and how they learn, and so that they achieve, so that your learners really achieve, not about ticking the boxes to please the rest of the institution, but it's your relationship with your students. And I think if you can get to their heart, if you can get to their heart, it really makes a difference, because some of them are coming from broken homes, some of them are coming from situations where war-torn countries, etc. And they just need someone, before they even think about their education, they just need someone who has their back and cares about them. And that
mm,
every student is an individual that matters, rather than a whole classroom that's clumped together and everything is just robotic, but you are reaching to their needs. This student likes this. This student likes to address this. This student has this issue. I won't tackle that with this student. There are so many ways, Dawn, that you can just get to know your students and then sit with them during a break time and create that atmosphere. Look, let's all have coffee. And you'll be surprised. You end up becoming a counselor if you're not careful, because you
mm.
realize a lot of needs from the learners, and it's not because they don't want to, it's because they've just got so much going on, but they just need
Yeah.
to unravel what's going on in their heads. And there's someone to say, you're going to be okay, you can do this.
Mm. Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you for what you're doing. So tell me about your early life in education. So we're hitting back to the past now. Tell us about your start. What were your early ambitions? And what made you get into the field that you're in now?
Okay. Um, I grew up in a beautiful town in Warwickshire called Rugby. And the most of my education was it was quite strict. And at the time, the teachers looked old. I guess they weren't, but their hair was grey. So, I
Mhm.
thought they were old, but I guess maybe not. Um, and they were good teachers. However, I never saw anyone of my color. I never had anyone of my color teach me. It was
Mm.
always middle class women, probably one male. It was unfortunate that people of my color were the ones that came in at the close of school to do the cleaning. So
Oh,
yeah, and I was a little embarrassed, if I'm honest with you, Dawn, because I wanted someone of my color to be in the staff room and to be one of the teachers or to be the deputy head or the headmistress or the headmaster. And I never saw that. And I remember saying to myself, I'd like to be a teacher. I'd like to be
mm,
a teacher because I don't see anyone like me teaching. And I
mm,
would have been about 9 at the time, Dawn. So that's a little bit about my education in school, which, on the whole was quite good. I'm a twin, so I was always compared to my twin. My twin was always compared to me. If she was good with maths, I had to be good at maths. If she was good at sports, I had to be. If I was good at English, she had to be. So there's always this comparison throughout my school life. And I do remember maths was a problem for me because I used to like to think about life and probably daydream when it was time to do some work. And I used to like to look out the window and just have a quick think about something. But I realize now it wasn't just that I was thinking about life. I just needed 5 or 10 minutes to just think about what I had to do, what the task was. But to the teachers, I wasn't engaging. So they took
mm,
me out of the class and they put me into a class in the library for maths. And it was the lowest group, Dawn. It was the lowest group. And I wasn't sure how I got there because I could do maths. But because when the teacher walked around the classroom, I hadn't started, she put me in the lowest group,
mm,
elementary maths. And I remember, my peers used to walk past me and the others that were in the group. And there's quite a few of us in there. And I used to hear them laughing, having a good laugh, look, they're in that group. And that really did have an impact on me through education. And I remember my parents used to say, "You go to school and you go to school and that's where you end up." I'm thinking, no, that's not
wow.
where that's not where I ended up. That's where they put me. But when I was growing up, the teachers were always right. They were always right. They were never wrong. So my parents always agreed with the teacher. I had to tell myself during my education, primary school, secondary school, that I'm not thick. I'm not silly. I'm not slow. I can do it. I can do it. And I had to just keep telling myself that, Dawn, that I could do it. I can make it. I can get the qualification. And that's what I started to do. I really started to buckle down, read more, try to understand, work things out for myself, watched how my sister was doing things so that I could just do a little bit extra for myself. And I think that was so going through education at school was okay. However, I wasn't encouraged to do any better. And in fact, I wanted to be a midwife. That's what I wanted to be. But I knew I had to be a nurse first and then go on to the midwifery training. And I remember my teacher, my main teacher, asked me, "What would you like to do, Patricia?" And I said, "I'd like to be a nurse." And she said, "Oh, have you thought about being an auxiliary nurse? That's one like the lower end of nursing." And I remember thinking, why? Why? When I want to be an SRN, state registered nurse, why is she telling me to be an auxiliary? nurse. That's when I realized there was some inequalities and the balance wasn't quite right. And things like that drove me to, if you tell me no, I'm going to try to make sure that I can do it. And I
Yeah.
think it held me, Dawn, through my education. So I did want to be a midwife, not a nurse. I wanted to be a midwife.
Mm.
But to be a midwife, you have to be a nurse. And I really couldn't go through all of that. No, the nursing bit. I'm not good with things like that. So I changed from being staying in the medical, going into the medical field.
Okay, okay. Well, it's interesting that one of your daughters is now a midwife, huh?
Yes,
Did
yes.
you transmit that to her? Did you kind of pre-program her to get to that stage?
I never did. I never did.
Hey.
I'm so surprised when it was later on in her life, she said, Mom, I'm thinking of going into midwifery. And she doesn't know what she did for me because it was like me living what she's going to do because she was always interested in science. So I never
Okay.
expected her to go into midwifery, never. But
Oh.
yeah, she's in it, and I'm proud of her for the hundreds of babies that she delivers. You
Oh, okay, okay, great.
want me to say anything else about education? Is that okay in terms of my upbringing? That good?
No, that's good. That's good. What started you with what you're doing now then?
I always wanted to be a teacher. I always
After,
wanted to
after,
be.
after you forgot about the midwifery, yeah? You decided,
Yeah,
all right, let me be a teacher. Okay.
yeah. No, I wanted to be a teacher when I was a child. I
Oh,
wanted
I
to
see.
be a child, but people kept saying to me, "Oh, you'll grow that out. Oh, you'll grow that out. That's just a child thinking. You'll grow it out." But sometimes you have something in you as a child and it visits you again as you're older and you're able
Mm,
to think it through and you're in a better place to make things happen. So when I got married, I moved to London and then and then I had my first child and I decided, why am I not going into education? And then, as some teachers do, I wanted to go in because I could get all of the half-term breaks, the summer breaks, etc. So I would enjoy all of that with my son. And that's the main
mm.
reason I went into teaching.
Okay, right. All right. Tell us of a time when you suffered disappointments or failure in your life and how your resilience pulled you through.
Say that again for me, please.
Tell us of a time when you suffered disappointment or failure in your life and how your resilience pulled you through.
When I was studying, when I was studying for my degree, um, I I got my degree, but I wasn't happy with the level of my degree, the grade. And that stayed with me for some years.
Mm,
I actually wanted to get a first for my degree, and I didn't. And it was because I was pregnant at the start of my degree, and then I was pregnant at the end. So
okay.
over the 3 years, I was pregnant. I was very ill, very, very ill. So I had
Okay.
a lot of time out.
Mm,
I was advised to stop studying, take a break, and then come back. But if you tell me no, I'm going to do it. If you try to stop me, I'm going to push and do it. And I
mm,
didn't want that to stop me at all. So I did the degree, but I wasn't able to do it at my best. But I did the
mm.
best I could then.
Yeah.
Realize that um, that's not my measure anymore. That degree is not my measure, but the degree has helped me in one way. But I really felt that I failed myself when I
Mm,
did the grade that I really wanted. I was
yes.
disappointed for a long time.
Understood. Understood.
But
How do you get
back
how
then,
do you get past disappointments?
how do I get past disappointment? You push yourself. You've got to get to a stage where if you want something badly, you've got to get to a stage where it doesn't matter how bad it is, how bad do you want it? And I think that was me. I wanted that degree because it was going to change my career path completely. But I realized that the level of my degree did not equate to or compare to the level and or qualify me to the excellence that I am at now in my teaching. And
Mm.
that's what's
Yeah,
helped me.
yeah. And that's very important for people to realize that you don't sort of stop, you continue, and you can still rise up the ladder.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I've got to say to people that Patricia is also a pastor's wife, and she's also an exceptional singer. So tell us about those two things, Patricia.
Okay. Pastor's wife. I didn't marry a pastor, but he became one once we got married, a few years into our marriage. I never wanted to marry a pastor. I always said I'm not marrying a pastor because I just didn't want to marry a pastor for so many reasons. Um, but then, the good thing, I suppose, is that we kind of grew together and I could see how my husband was developing into the pastor. So I kind of fitted myself into that mold. And
Mm,
with no training, no experience, I just had to do what I could. The hardest thing was to be me. And I felt that there were times as the pastor's wife that you lose you. Everybody sees you as the pastor's wife. And sometimes I was kind of crying out, saying, I'm here, I'm here. And the expectations on me were not always the expectations on me that I wanted. And
mm,
I kind of felt like I was losing me and just becoming what everybody else thought I should be. You should sit there, you should behave this way, you shouldn't feel that way, you shouldn't want to do the things that we think of because you're in a different category and you live in a glass house and all of those things. I just didn't sit with me. One day I just learned to be myself. And
mm,
myself was probably seen to others as rebelling, but I just learned to be myself. I could say no. If I didn't feel I wanted to be in church one Sunday, I wouldn't go.
mm,
Whereas before, every week, week in, week out, midweek, and I was exhausted. And I
mm,
just had a very supportive husband who said, just be you. Um,
mm,
I just learned to be myself. I didn't want anyone to call me um, any of those titles, pastor. I just wanted to be Patricia. Just know me
mm,
as Patricia, and that
mm,
would do. I wanted friendships, but I knew it was going to be hard to have friends because my husband's the pastor. But I was able to develop some friendships, but you're very cautious. So
mm,
if someone's my friend, I've really allowed that person into my space and my trust because I wasn't too sure who was who. And I didn't really have a support team of pastors' wives around me. And some of the ones I saw, not all, I never wanted to look like them and I've never wanted to be like them. I wanted to just be me.
mm.
Just so yeah, that's me. But I have really grown in the role. And I can say now that I'm very comfortable
Mm.
in the role as pastor's wife because everyone has to accept me for me and don't try to put me in anyone's box because I'm not going in there, staying where I am.
It's quite a responsibility as well, isn't it? Because whatever's happening within the church, positive or negative, you have a vested interest in it, and you're like the stakeholder. And things go right, you're praised. Things don't go right, then as part of the leadership, people have things to say. So I'm sure you've had ups and downs during that time. People can't assume that it's always easy. Am I right?
You are 100% right. I have developed anxiety through being pastor's wife. I have had times where I have had to question me. I have had very low periods
Mm,
where I have felt so low because of the what's been said about me or what's been said about my husband or what's been said about the ministry. I have been so disappointed with the behavior of some people. Um, I have invested time in a lot of people, and
mm,
I feel like I've just been slapped in the face. And it's just been sometimes you just feel like you're on a roller coaster and you begin to not trust anybody at all. And you can feel very alone. And for quite a few years, besides a few friends who invested in me and I in them, um, I've felt like I've been on an island all by myself.
yeah. And
You
I
know,
think people need to remember that it's not easy being at the top, so to speak. I think you see this also in education. If you consider the head teacher of a school, who do you see them being friendly with? You know, they can't just come in the staff room and sit down and relax, because people, they'll either have a lot of questions or they'll be shunning you, or it's not an easy situation. And I think we have to appreciate what you have done over the years as a pastor's wife, having known you um, for a few years. I just want to say, well done in terms of your strength and your approachability.
thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you for who you are, and I know that that has helped you in terms of being so personable in your professional career as well. So I can imagine that those teachers that you are teaching currently, they must find you amazing. I'd love to be sitting in your classroom and be taught as well.
Come and sit in one day. Yeah,
I might just do that.
oh, it'd be lovely. I do. I create such a nice, warm environment for my trainees. The first
Hmm.
thing I say to them is because some of them they come to my class on a Saturday because they're teaching in the week. So on a Saturday, I say to them, "This is you. This is your time. No one's calling you mom. No one's calling you dad. Nobody's expecting anything from you. No one wants you to grab them some lunch or you go and there's nothing. It's just about you." And I said, you are with like minds. I said, you can go and have a coffee break in the morning. I said, you have your lunch break. You go out together. The whole day is yours. So I said, when you come to me, don't see it as a chore. See it as this is my time for me. I'm learning, I'm training, I'm advancing myself, but I'm also having some space from everything and everybody else. And it's just me. And
Hmm.
when I say that to them, you can kind of feel like the weight just lifts off them, Dawn. It's like
Oh,
I've seen trainee teachers, tears just falling down their
oh,
face when I say that to them. And I'll say, right, okay, we're stopping right here. Let's go and have coffee.
hmm,
Stop morning session. Let's go and have coffee. Because they don't have that in the week because of the lives that they're living, etc. So I do create that atmosphere, but I do make sure learning happens. But because I've
hmm,
created that warm atmosphere of, look, this is your time. I'm here to be with you, to support you, to help you, to get you where you want to go. And the way how I do it, 5 o'clock when we finish, they're still saying, Patricia, we can stay a little bit longer. I'm like, no, I need to go. I need to.
what?
I kid you not. They love being in my class and I love having them. Well, I
Yeah,
on a Saturday, Dawn, so I want to make it interesting for me.
yeah, yeah, of
No, I don't
course.
want to just go through the motions. I want to have
Yeah.
a great time. And they're good. They just bring things in, and it's just a nice atmosphere. And they know that they are learning, and I do get them to learn. I push, I encourage, I train them, I make them laugh. They will cry, not because I'm horrible, but because of some of the subjects that we discuss about depression for students and depression for teachers, things that's outside of the curriculum that I bring in to say, look, mental health with students, mental health with teachers, yourself. You've got to look at yourself. How are you? What kind of a week have you had? What have you skipped? What tablets are you on that we don't know about? And if you don't take it, this is what happens. So it's all of those things that I bring into the classroom. Amazing.
I think that you'd actually be a really good life coach as well.
Been considered. It's been considered.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think no matter what profession people are in, there are times when we need pep talks like the one that you're giving to these teachers, you
Yeah.
know, where you're looking at the whole person and not just the job, not just the lists of tasks to do,
Yeah.
but you're looking at how is that person feeling? Can they actually do their job without feeling low? Do they need a pep talk? Do they need lifting up? Encouragement. The kind of thing, to be honest, that you've been doing within a church environment, but also within a teaching environment. And
Yeah.
there are people who are not in either of those environments who could also do with that, Patricia.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have, because I also teach online, teacher training online, and I have had partners who are not in my class and youngsters actually pop their head into the camera and say, "I'm so sorry. I know I'm not in your course, but what you're saying there means so much to me. I sit in on all of your lessons. You just don't know."
You're kidding me.
Telling
Really?
you more. Yeah, they sit in on
Wow.
my friends, they invite their friends, they come in and say, this is like a counseling for me. I'm thinking, okay, okay, okay.
Well, there we go. Sounds like the dawn of a new business there to me.
Well, I guess I am doing that in terms of the trainees who come to me. I find that where I work and even where I'm working now, I have people who come to me and say, Patricia, I'm trying to get this job, but I just can't seem to get this. I don't seem to get an opening. They come to me with so many different things and they're saying, could you help me? I've had somebody who where I work, he's studying for his PhD and he said, Patricia, could you help me? I said, but you've got your own. I said, you have your own tutor to do that. And they said, but there's something different about you. You listen and
Yes.
you show
Yeah.
that you care. So
Yes.
what do you want me to do? PhD. I said, I don't know this subject, but Patricia, you do. And I have helped. I've sat and given them an hour. I've stayed with them till 8 in the evening. Half the things I don't know what it is, Dawn, the subject. I don't know, but for some reason I'm able to just quickly think, okay, you should be doing that, that, that. And two of them have achieved their
Mm,
PhD. And
mm,
I'm not showing off on myself, but I
mm,
think it's just someone coming alongside them to actually just to
mm,
reaffirm, you can
mm,
do it. You're just missing this and this and this, and then follow them
mm,
up. How are you getting on with it, etc.
mm. I think that's a beautiful gift that you have. It's a gift of encouragement, a gift of lifting people up, a gift of empathy that you're understanding how people are feeling, either because you've seen the consequences of dealing with things alone, or maybe you've experienced some of those things yourself. But you've also seen difficulties that others have been through, and you seem to have a knack of being able to say the right thing in the right voice, in a very soothing voice, I must say, by the way.
Oh,
You know,
thank you.
you do really have a knack of reaching to the point. So whether it's as a life coach or a counselor or a mentor or whatever people want to whatever label people want to put on you, I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, but also do it to a wider audience.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. I
So
will.
you're singing. Another
Yes,
thing I must let the audience know is that Patricia is an amazing singer. Now, there is this thing about a lot of singers being brought up in the black church and they've had their stage there. They've been able to sing to hundreds and thousands of people. Patricia is one of those. She was once in a group. In your teenage years, into your early 20s, you were in a group as well, weren't you? A singing group.
that's
So tell
correct.
us about your singing career and what are you doing with it now?
Okay, so I've been singing for the longest time, actually, probably around about 5 years of age. I remember singing in church circles, myself and my sister. They'd put us on chairs to stand up, and we would sing. My grandmother taught us how to sing, and my mom's mom. They both taught me and my sister how to sing. They weren't trained vocally, but they just taught us how to present ourselves when we're singing, how to hold the notes together. Obviously, we had the sound. And I think we were always singing, always singing. You know, in church life, we sing all the time anyway, which is a very positive thing. And then I formed a group, or I joined this group, and we were all young people in church, and we sang in a group, beautiful singers, and some of them now are singing professionally. And we sang for a few years together.
What's
Up,
the name of the group?
it's called the Gospel Foundation,
Hmm.
and it was seven of us, I believe, in the group. Um, three sisters, two sisters, five cousins, and two sisters. And we just harmonized. We never had any training. We just were able to just sing. I mean, all of our parents sang. So I think that was a benefit. But we just sang, and we just sang around the UK. And I remember our national overseer at the time held a meeting with us and said we would have been around about 19, and actually said we need to seriously consider looking at singing full time as a career and as a ministry. And he wanted us to travel the world with
Wow.
him and without him. But you know, we weren't thinking, we were just enjoying singing, Donetta, just enjoying the singing. So we sang and sang and sang, and we're all very well known across many of the churches. And I think we inspired a lot of other choirs and groups and soloists.
Yeah.
We stopped because you know, we all went our own ways, marriage, etc. But I continued singing, not as much, but I always sang. And I realized that I'm not singing with anyone anymore. Didn't have my twin, didn't have the group. It was just me. So I just sharpened my voice. I just worked on my vocals more, sang a lot in church. And then I started singing outside of church a little bit more. And then I was invited to sing at different functions. And I realized just how much I really enjoyed it. I just got excited when it was time to sing. And I had to consider, right, if I start singing in these areas, how is it going to look? Because I'm the pastor's wife, but I'm now the entertainer for a function, which is an anniversary where everyone is getting down. And but you know what? Because I won't be put in the box, I know who I am and I know what I like to do. I got into singing at functions. I'm not as well known, I don't think, in church life because I think people think that I don't sing anymore, but it's because they're not in the circles that I'm in. But I do sing for entertainment and I love it. I sing a lot for funerals, at least one a month, at least. I sing at funeral services. And whatever the event is that I can actually attend, I sing at. And I just love singing. And if I could, I would sing a whole lot more in this country and out of this country as well, because I love singing. It just, it's more than a hobby for me. It's not a hobby. Singing isn't a hobby for me. For me, I find that singing is an expression of myself. And
Mhm.
that's what I love. And I love to sing and encourage others. And I love the joy. I love the
Mm.
joy it brings to others as well when I sing. And I try to be unique in my sound.
Okay, so I've got to let the audience know that I had promised not to put her on the spot and have her do a solo, but I am encouraging her to do more singing online so that more people can enjoy her voice. And certainly when my family has had events, there's a few of them we have asked you to sing as well. So thank you for that. She knows my favorite songs, and it's always a pleasure to hear her. So I'm encouraging her to sing on social media, maybe start her own YouTube channel with that. And also, you were training others how to sing as well, weren't you, for a period of time?
That's right. I did that for quite some time where I was training um, professionals and non-professionals in the area of singing. Professionals, it would be particular areas that they actually want to improve and develop their voice in. And others, they just wanted to be able to sing. Sing is just a beautiful thing. It just makes people happy. And I've learned, Dawn, through training, vocal training, it's not just about them singing. It's actually about them discovering themselves. I've seen people break down when they sing in front of me, not straight away, but when they hear how they sound and how they sounded before, from day one to day 12, let's say, they're just in shock and in awe of the sound that they can actually produce. And it
Mm,
opens up so many doors of their past that
mm.
heals their past,
Wow.
really propels them forward. You will be surprised how my 55 minutes of vocal training turns into probably an hour and a half because there's also that support afterwards because it's just opened up so many doors of hurt and pain that
Mm,
they're able to really release. And then they've realized, actually, I want to go into this area of music. And
yeah.
some of them have, they really have. So when they come to me, I know it's not just about me developing their vocals, it's about me being the support, being the counselor for them, and really getting them to just open up without me teasing anything out of them. And I know that's something that I've grown to really love and appreciate. So yes, I do that. And I do it for choirs, I do it for groups. I'm back teaching vocals again. My first one was last week, Saturday. And the questions that I'm asked are, my vocals are damaged. Can they be repaired? Absolutely yes, I say. Absolutely yes. And
Mm.
so far, I've not had anyone say through vocal training their voices have gone worse. It's better and better. And so
Yeah, yeah.
professionally now.
Oh, wow. Oh, well done. Okay. So at some point, we also hope to see an album from you.
Yes, of course, Dawn.
Oh, dear, dear. We've been discussing this for a few years now, everybody. So,
Yes, we
but it's
have.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
It really is. And can I say that thanks to you, Dawn, because you're always encouraging me to do it, to get on, do it, you can do it. Um, and I think, I have got the resources with my family around me who are also musical.
That's
Um,
right.
so
Yeah, one of them plays the keyboard, another one plays the keyboard and is I think he's a resident keyboardist for Soul to Soul, the group. Yeah.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
then another one plays the drums,
Yeah,
another one sings, another one is he plays guitar with Ed Sheeran, I think. Yeah,
correct.
so the whole family is musical. So really, they could have a musical family group if they wanted to. So I don't know what they're doing. Busy helping everyone else, I suppose. But well done, guys. You have many talents, Patricia, and well done. Thank you for using them, and I'm hoping that the world will get to see a lot more of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. And can I just add something, Dawn?
It depends. Go on.
If you were to ask me, Who would I say? Who is my, or yeah, who is my role model? Or do I have any role models? I do have three, um, two role models, and one who I would say has been one of my greatest supporters. You are one.
Oh,
Absolutely.
oh, okay.
You weren't expecting that, but you're one of my role models. You're a lady in education. You've always inspired me. You've always encouraged me. When I wasn't even thinking that I would go into education, you were there and you were always just gently encouraging me. Yeah, do it. Just get on and do it. You can do it. And when I tried, dip my foot in, you always said, go further, keep going. And I've watched you and really admired how you carry yourself and what you do with dignity. And it's really encouraged me. So thank you very much from my heart to yours.
Thank you. I might have to cut this bit out.
Not cutting this out. Everyone, you've heard it, right? I'll say it when I'm on YouTube. When I'm on YouTube, I'll say it. And the second person is Carol Tomlin. She's
Wow.
a marvelous inspiration for me. She doesn't know. But she's always pushed me to go into teaching and to get into education. And where I studied, she was lecturing and was in different positions at that university. And she was always an encouragement for me. So I
Mm,
have to mention her. And I've got to mention my husband, Dornetta, because
mm.
he has been with me from day one, pushed me through everything that I thought I couldn't do.
Oh,
And we can all do it. We just need people to just push us and encourage us,
and it
and
makes such a difference, you know?
it does. It does.
Mm,
Don't
yeah.
feel don't
Well,
feel that.
well done, Pastor Davy, in terms of your constant support and encouragement for your wife. This is what we want to encourage men to do, to support their wives, their partners, girlfriends, and they always say that behind every successful man, there's a woman who's helping to push them, but they don't have that quote for successful women. Yeah, it's nice when people can encourage each other. You know, that is just so important. So thank you for your kind words towards myself. Appreciate it. You've always been there for me and my family, so thanks for that.
Welcome.
Dare to dream, Patricia. Ultimately, what would you really like to do? What kind of things would you like to accomplish? Let's say we have another 20, 30 years left in life, or maybe longer, I don't know. Dare to dream. What do you want? I'm the one with the magic wand. And of course, we have a great and powerful God.
Right. Right. Okay. I want to remain a really good wife. I want to remain a good wife, a good mother, a good grandmother, a good friend, one who is inspiring to others and believe and get them to believe and think that they can do better and they can achieve the best they can out of life. Um, I would like to, in terms of the materialistic side of life, I would like to have a really beautiful home somewhere hot, possibly the Caribbean, right, so that I can spend 6 months of my years over in the Caribbean and 6 months here. That would be great. I can't see myself retiring right now. I would love to own my own um, training center.
Mm,
Be so nice, Dawn, um,
mm,
because I know exactly what's needed to make people succeed
mm,
in education or within life coaching, etc. And I'd love to have opportunities like that where I've got my own place where I
mhm,
devote the time that I can to making that work. And I'd also like to be able to buy somewhere for my dad that's near to me, that's a bungalow, so that I can keep an eye on him, keep him active, keep him mentally active, so that his years can be prolonged. He's 97, and I'd like him to go beyond
What?
100.
97. Wow.
97, and he manages everything by himself. Just stopped driving last year, but I saw his driver's license last week. It's been renewed for 2 more years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'd like to be able to do a bit more for my dad, but have him closer to me.
Hmm.
Those are my goals. £1 million in the bank would be nice too, Dawn, if you want to deposit that for me.
Yeah,
Thank
okay. I'll see what I can do.
you.
Oh, wow. I think those are all very noble aims and ambitions, and you never know, it might actually happen.
That would be great. That really,
Yeah, yeah. But you have a beautiful home already, I've got to say. So, you just want another beautiful home in the Caribbean, yeah?
I do. I really do. And yeah, I would like I'm not greedy. I'm not a greedy, but I like nice things.
Yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
somewhere in Kent. All right. So yeah, I'll move to Kent.
Okay, all right then. All right. Well, it's lovely talking to you. Thank you for taking the time for
Pleasure.
us to share today. And yeah, I look forward to continuing with a good and fruitful relationship over the next few years and helping you to achieve even more than you're doing now.
Yes. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Patricia. You take care.
Thank you, Dawn. Bye-bye.
Bye.
In my hands, my heart is stretched in wide, but you'll be on my mind forever. Across the endless sea, I would die in ecstasy.